Welcome to the RCTV In Conversation With podcast. Our host, Mark Bunting, brings you the latest news, industry trends, and investment ideas from the junior mining sector. In this week's episode, Aeris Resources Executive Chairman André Labuschagne touches on the company's goals for the Cracow Gold project, a timeline on the feasibility study at the Stockman Project, their approach to reaching a stable economic position, and more. With that, Mark, take it away.
Joining me now is André Labuschagne. He's the Executive Chairman of Aeris Resources. Thanks for joining us, André.
Thank you, Mark. Appreciate your time.
So let's get a broad brushstrokes overview of the company. You've got 4 producing assets, and your copper and gold, and you've got an advanced project and multiple exploration projects as well. You also made that big acquisition, which you call transformational, to buy Round Oak. So sort of wrap it up for us and give us an overview if you could.
Look, bit of history. In the last 2.5 years, we went from a $10 million market cap 2.5 years ago with one operating asset, the Tritton copper mine. And then 2.5 years ago, we bought the Cracow Gold mine in Queensland. We went from $10 million to over $300 million. And then exactly 2 years later, in July last year, we bought the Round Oak acquisition, the Round Oak business, and that had 2 operating mines, a copper mine in Queensland near Mount Isa and a copper zinc mine in Western Australia. So right now we've got 4 operating mines doing around 63,000 tons copper equivalent production out of the 4 mines. And then we also, as part of the Round Oak acquisition, acquired the Stockman Project, which is a copper zinc project in Victoria, which is a new build, which we're busy with the feasibility study and the process of bringing that into production at some point.
Right, and we'll get to that project in just a moment. More recently, you had a maiden resource for Golden Plateau, and you call the results spectacular. So what makes Golden Plateau special?
Look, what makes Golden Plateau special is we're getting really good grades. What we originally thought when we started the drilling at the deposit, we thought we're going to get low-grade, high-volume ore from that ore body. It's about 2 kilometers from the current mine. And what we're now seeing is like it's got these cross structures, which is returning very good high grade. So we just released the first resource on it. And that all is part of how do we extend the Cracow Gold mine. 2 years ago when we bought it from Evolution, we thought it's got 2 years, but we thought it was more. And that is just a proof that there is further extensions to that mine. And bringing that into production in the next few years would further extend the Cracow Gold mine.
Sticking with Cracow, you said that you believe that that's where the next big discovery could be. So could it be Golden Plateau or elsewhere? What are your expectations there?
Look, if you talk to the geos in the business, we call it the Southern Vein Field. So that's a field below the current area we're mining. It's a bit undercover, but it's highly prospective. It hasn't really been drilled. So we believe the next big deposit, the most likely area we'll find it would be in that Southern Vein area, and a lot of focus are being put into doing gravity surveys, getting targets. So we identified 6 targets now in that Southern Vein Field, and we'll start to test them in this calendar year.
André, you've said that a definitive feasibility study is moving along nicely for Stockman, where you say the time to production could be sort of a short window. So what is that timetable roughly?
So the way we're looking at it, to have a feasibility study done by June for the board to assess the continuation of, when do we start. We'll then get a funding package in place. We'll do a bankable study by the end of this calendar year, and then soon after that, we'll start the project. We've inherited a project which was done by the previous owners. We're busy pulling that apart to make sure we are using new technology wherever it's available. Building a 21st century mine is important for us, so that is part of the process.
And I understand you'd like to get Turbo into production by 24. Could you flesh out that story?
Look, that's actually been a great story for us. So At the Jaguar mine, when we bought it, just before we bought it, they discovered the Turbo deposit, which is further down the Bentley mine. Now, the drilling we've done in the last 6 months has increased the size of that Turbo deposit. So all efforts are being made to bring that into production as soon as we can. But what was also now been interesting since we started to look around the Jaguar mine, there's an old Jaguar underground mine which has been mined before. When they discovered the Bentley deposit, they basically moved out of the Jaguar mine into the Bentley deposit. So we are assessing opportunities to restart that mine, which hasn't been part of our due diligence or the plans when we bought the business. So as we get our head around the business, we're discovering more and more opportunities, specifically at the Jaguar mine.
André, you say you've got about nearly $80 million in cash and receivables and no debt. So that's clearly a strategy. How important is it, and what is the strategy to have zero debt?
Look, yeah, I joined this business 10 years ago, and at the time they had 140 million US in debt, 2 mines losing money. So it took us 5 years to restructure all that debt and get ourselves out of most of the debt. So not a good experience on debt. So from where we sit, we love to keep the debt levels as low as possible. But when you look at a project like Stockman, which has got a 10-year reserve life, producing 30 to 35,000 tons of copper equivalent, it would make sense to put a bit of debt in place when you develop that mine. But other than that, the aim of the business is to be a self-funded investment business from a capital point of view.
Lastly, André, you've said it's important to show the market that you can deliver on your production guidelines and your estimates for the life of your mine. So how do you think the market's perceiving Aeris right now?
Look, the market, I think, is sitting back and looking how we're going. You know, we've gone from 1 mine to 4 mines, plus trying to build one, actually 2. We also want to build Constellation at some point in time. So, you know, there's a lot on our plate, and we have scaled up the business to deal with that. I think it is important, and people are sitting there to make sure that we are delivering on what we said. We historically always delivered what we said, but the first 6 months this year has been slightly below expectations, but there are some big plans in place, and the guys at the mines are working through their plans to achieve, still within guidance. We have not moved our guidance because we are very confident in achieving the guidance going forward.
Well, thanks for your time and for the update today, André. We will be following, and good luck with everything.
Thanks, Mark. Thanks for your time.
Okay, thanks, André Labuschagne. He is the executive chairman of Aeris Resources.
That's it for this episode of the RCTV podcast. Remember to like, subscribe, and share to learn more from CEOs, industry experts, and to dig into the world of mining.